My niece pushed my 4-year-old down the stairs. My family laughed. I took everything from them. The backyard was a pastel explosion. Pink balloons tied to lawn chairs, cupcakes glimmering with sugar, paper banners flapping in a random breeze. Kids danced between legs, shrieking with joy. Adults clustered in small groups, sipping wine, exchanging polite smiles. All of it seemed ordinary. A 70th birthday party for Grandpa Joe, thrown by my sister Karen. Me? I watched it all while holding Ava's small hand. I'm Elise Morgan, 32, single mom. No spouse to tag along at these things, just me and Ava, my 4-year-old sunshine. We wore matching sandals. I carried a bottle of non-alcoholic sparkling apple cider. She was clutching a stuffed unicorn. We'd driven across 3 neighborhoods in our old blue hatchback to be here, and I kept thinking, this is okay. This is family. Karen barely looked our way when we arrived. She was busy directing traffic, making sure older cousins found seats, ensuring Grandpa had his carved turkey. Her words to me, "Sit over there, Elise." She didn't want me anywhere close to the cake station. I smiled, because I'd learned early that peace was cheaper than conflict. Down the street, Aunt Marcy cooed at Ava, praising her dress and asking if she'd tried the frosting yet. My mom sat beside Grandpa, an older woman who still commanded love, but only in Instagram cards. "So happy you're here," she told me, but I could hear the cold in her voice. Ava slipped away, pulled by older kids. I saw her in the den, twirling a tiara on her head, laughing with Mia, my niece. Teenagers were all bent knees and giggles. Karen glanced over, shrugged. Everyone just assumed it was fine. Then everything changed. The scream echoed like a gunshot. Ava fell. The world spun. I ran. I heard the thud of her body meet the base of the stairs. I heard the click of heels, voices shouting, "Let her cry, she'll be okay." But I didn't wait. I scooped her in my arms. The room hushed with sudden attention, but not exactly sympathy, more like annoyance. Mama held her wine glass higher. "A bit dramatic, don't you think?" Mia rolled her eyes. "She hit me first, Mom. I just pushed her down." No apology, no tears, no calling for help. I felt the world slip under me. Hot tears stung my face. I didn't have time to think, just time to act. I put Ava down gently. She whimpered, then lay still. I took her small hand and led her out the back door, past the cake table, past the crowd, past the horror. I reached the car before anyone followed. In the driveway, I buckled her into her car seat. She was trembling. "Mommy, it hurts." My heart broke. I looked back at the party, the place where my daughter got hurt, and it didn't look like family. It looked like hazard, like judgment, like strangers pretending to care. Later, at the hospital, I paced the hallway. Ava was in a gown, a rainbow bruise along her shoulder. She tried to smile at me. "Mama?" she whispered, her first word after the fall. I held her. She burrowed into my neck, and I thought of blood on the balloons, of cousins who joked afterward, of her cousin bleeding her pride while I carried her to safety. I swore it then. No more pretending silence heals. The next morning, Karen texted, "So sorry about Ava. Come by tonight." My mom called. This was dramatic. People are worried about how it will look. Grandpa simply said, "This is family." I didn't respond, because I realized family isn't safe. Family isn't honest. Family sometimes fails you. But Mama can choose a better daughter than the one who shrinks. I erased the messages, packed our favorite toys, called a friend to pick us up. We left, and I never looked back. If you're not following our channel, you might never see it again. But if you're subscribed and used the bell, congratulations! You'll always have access to the most interesting stories whenever you want to watch and listen. The hospital lobby smelled of antiseptic and fear. Ava slept in my arms, tiny chest rising with slow breaths. I carried her through sliding doors as paramedics trailed behind, faces serious. Bleeding stopped, bruises painted, broken trust everywhere. They rushed us into a small room. A nurse asked questions: name, age, incident. My voice shook. 4 years old. Fell downstairs. Niece pushed her. No response from them, just, she'll be fine. Like it was the flu. But this wasn't a cold. It was a line crossed, a boundary shattered. The doctor examined Ava's x-rays, gentle hands, soft words. She had a mild concussion, no broken bones. He placed a hand on my shoulder and said, I know it's scary. This will heal, but you're doing the right thing bringing her here. His kindness was a lifeline. Karen arrived later, walked in like she owned half the place, hitched her breath in judgment. Ava said she slipped, Karen said quietly. She told me Mia shoved her. No apology, just stillness, just silence. My mom sat beside me, 10 steps behind, not hugging, not crying, folding hands like she was waiting in church. Darling, she said softly, we're just shaken. Let's wait. Wait for what? The lie they needed to believe? Aunt Marcy hovered near the curtain, quiet, gentle, sympathy in her eyes. Real sympathy. You did the right thing, she whispered. It was the first silent ally I acknowledged. Late afternoon, Ava slept again. The doctor drew me aside. Make sure you have someone stay with her the next 24 hours. Often kids feel fine until they don't. His eyes told me the other risk, the family pressure she'd go back to them. I looked at my phone. Endless unread texts and voicemails. Karen, what are you doing? Mom, come home, please. Dad, this isn't necessary. No replies. No accountability. That evening, I left the hospital, Ava in her stroller, limp in pajamas. Packed a small bag, diapers, Teddy, a few clothes. No direction, just away. We got a ride from Aunt Marcy. She drove us away from the hospital, tears in her eyes. I saw the way she looked after you left, she said. She's scared. You're doing what's best. Her words were small comfort, but they were comfort. That night, I lay with Ava, watching her sleep. A different house, different safety. No balloons, no stairs, just quiet. Morning came with a text from lawyer. Meet me today. We need to talk. My gut clenched, but I nodded. This was only the beginning. At the clinic, we met with Officer Rihanna, a family advocate. I signed statements. They started reports. They took Mia's name. They asked who could testify. Aunt Marcy, the paramedics. No one laughed this time. And the house? It waited. Empty balloons, crumbs, a memory I decided to burn. I'm a mother first, a wife to no one. Family? It's what you choose. I chose now. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you'll never miss what happens next. The couch was lumpy, the air cold, but at least it was safe. She curled beside me, her little body finally still after days of tremors and nightmares. Every time her breath hitched in sleep, my chest tightened. That morning, when her eyes opened and she whispered for cereal, I knew she was still fighting, still strong. We ate in silence. No cartoons, no morning noise. Just spoon clinks and the hum of an unfamiliar refrigerator. The woman who let us crash in her guest room didn't ask for gossip. She just handed me a cup of coffee, nodded, and said, I'll drive you anywhere you need. That ended up being the police station. The officer didn't flinch when I told him, just wrote, asked questions, let me breathe. Did I want to press charges? I looked at my daughter's face in the reflection of the vending machine down the hall, purple bruise under her eye, soft bandage on her wrist. The answer came easy. Yes. I didn't care who she was to us. I didn't care how uncomfortable it would make the family dinners we'd never be invited to again. I cared that no one even said sorry. I cared that someone had to tell this little girl that what happened to her mattered. Later at the lawyer's office, everything became real. Paperwork, evidence, witness lists. I gave them the texts, the hospital report, the EMT's name. She laughed after it happened, I told the attorney. She said my daughter slapped her first. Everyone just stood there. I expected raised eyebrows. Instead, the lawyer just nodded. "This won't be easy," she said, "but you're not wrong." When I left that office, I didn't feel lighter. I felt angry, focused. I'd spent years thinking that keeping the peace meant biting my tongue. All it did was teach everyone else how to ignore me. The messages started that evening. "Are you seriously doing this? She's a child. You're breaking the family apart." Not once did anyone ask how she was doing. Not once did they say, "I'm sorry." They were more upset about how it looked than what it meant. Even the ones who used to call themselves close fell quiet, unfollowed, muted. I wasn't their version of family anymore. I'd messed up the image. I'd told the truth. And the worst part? I knew they were hoping I'd back down, that I'd let it go, that I'd eventually come crawling back because that's what I always did. But not this time. I wasn't raising a daughter who would think love meant silence. I stayed up that night, holding her, whispering over and over, "You are not wrong. You are not wrong. You are not wrong." I don't know where this will go yet, but I know where it ends. With her safe and me unashamed for once in my life. I heard a knock on the door late that night. My chest slammed against my ribs. I stared at the foggy window, almost didn't open it. But when I did, it was hers. Simple sneakers, hand outstretched with a grocery bag full of takeout and water bottles. "Thought you might want dinner," she said. Soft, but firm. No judgment. Just kindness. It was the first moment I realized the distance between support and noise. My phone had been silent all day. No updates, no apologies, no concern. Just the same old script. Come back, don't rock the boat, family matters. My shoulders dropped. I invited her in, ate in silence, shared a half-frozen burrito. It was good. The papers came next. Summons in the mail, court dates, official. Everything suddenly elevated from hurt into something inevitable. I stared at the names listed. The wrong number of letters, but still. Those moments in the hallway kept repeating. Falling action. Shove. Laughter. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing it for truth. To tell her daughter that hurting someone and not meaning it doesn't erase what was done. That silence doesn't fix things. The family text chain blew up the same night. "Why are you humiliating us? There's a better way. You never ask for anything." And my reply was a single sentence. "I asked for enough. You refused to give it." That was all. The next day, I was performing at work. Presentations, emails, meetings, and everyone behaved like nothing had changed, like I hadn't just dismantled a facade. I frowned at my reflection in the barista window as I waited for a latte. Steady, calm, broken open, but not shattered. It occurred to me then how quiet fights get won, not with explosions, but with cold water, gradual sea pitch. On the floor, my daughter laughed while painting on paper. I watched the paint dry. A vivid, abstract story. No pressure, no judgment. Every quiet swirl of color reminded me why this was worth it. Evening came with a surprise text. "Name and number when you're ready." She was the EMT from the accident scene. She insisted I reach out if I needed anything. Privacy intact. Just a lifeline if I needed help. I teared up again. People exist who believe you without question. That night, I went to sleep without dread, without the weight of unsaid words or avoided phone screens. I slept peacefully, something I forgot how to do. They're already gearing up for court. My attorney expects them to show denial, shock, anger. They'll say, accident. They'll say, I gave in to emotion. That's fine. I'm not afraid of words, because I have evidence, and more than that, I have healing, inside and outside that courtroom. And that healing starts when silence stops and stories begin. It was early morning and my phone lit up with a message from my attorney. "Court date confirmed. You ready?" My stomach dropped.
It felt surreal, not like I was stepping into a courtroom, but like I was stepping into years of silence and doubt all at once. The courthouse smelled of polished linoleum and pressure. I sat in the waiting room clutching a file. Hospital records, statements from the EMT, the cupcake wrapper with her blood-smeared frosting, even pictures of little footprints in the dust around those stairs. The door opened. The first to walk in was her mother. Eyeliner too sharp, designer coat, expression hard. She glanced at me. Eyes flickered. No apology. Just assessment.
Next came her father, hands in pockets, nod toward me like we shared nothing but history. He took a seat several rows behind his ex-wife and my sister, eyes fixed ahead like he'd built a wall. My daughter and I sat with Aunt Marcy. She'd come with us, though she didn't have to. She held Ava's hand in her lap, eyes bright, brave. She was my shield and my strength that morning. The bailiff called us all in. Wood-paneled courtroom, judge solemn, jury waiting. My lawyer approached and whispered, "You're doing great." I nodded, not trusting my voice yet. She spoke clearly when it was my turn. No big speech, just truth. My daughter was pushed hard enough to hit her head. She was hurt. I want accountability. I want her to know she mattered. I had to swallow tears between words. Between hurt and accountability, I was bleeding. But I kept going. Opposing lawyer stood, suit tight, tie too bright. He said it was a child's accident, then launched into a story about family forgiveness and overreactions. His voice was smooth, rehearsed. He asked me, "Isn't this just sting you didn't like being contradicted at a birthday party?" My heart slammed, but I answered cold. It wasn't a reaction. It was a shove. A violently unnecessary act. It deserved this. Later on, the niece, teenager now, silent in the defendant's seat, uttered only, "I didn't mean to hurt her." It was flat. Even I felt the weight of that. Her mother sniffed. No tears, no apology, just swallowed words. Witnesses came next. The EMT talked about trauma, about how kids react to head impacts, about reporters who documented bruises nearly months later. Aunt Marcy gave testimony about the atmosphere afterward. Kids laughing, adults making jokes. That afternoon, I watched the jury scribble notes. Their pens clicked. Then, as exit began, I saw one of them pause to tell me quietly, "I hope this brings clarity." The aftermath wasn't immediate. Panel heard closing statements, the accuser's lawyer asking for partial costs, a written apology, and a parenting seminar completed by the guilty party's household. The defense lawyer pushed for dismissal. We left the room. Ava held my hand, looked up at me. She whispered, "Did I do okay?" I stared. "You did better than okay." I kissed her here. 2 days later, the verdict came by mail. They denied the apology mandate, but found in my favor for damages, medical costs, missed work, emotional distress. They required the parents to reimburse us, write a letter of acknowledgement to the court, and pay fees. It was not what I'd asked for completely, but it mattered. My daughter mattered. Court victory didn't heal everything. The next Thanksgiving, I got holiday cards from all, blank names filled in later. The niece's card said, "Wishing you well." I didn't respond. Because some things don't need paper. I did something else instead. We baked extra pumpkin muffins and dropped them at Aunt Marcy's. We spent the holiday with neighbors, friends, and virtual hugs from moms who'd followed our story. We took blank, polite photos. No waving, no forced smiles, just gratitude. One evening, while I tucked my daughter into bed, she whispered, "Mommy, I feel brave." We paused. I kissed her forehead. "Good," I said, "because you are brave. And this courage, it's yours." The chill in my chest thawed a bit that night. I didn't have to be the unspoken hero anymore, just the mom who spoke up. We both fell asleep without fear, only hope.
When the verdict letter arrived, it was like sunlight breaking through. I held that envelope in my hands, hard paper, stamped with official words, and let the relief wash over me. It wasn't about winning. It was about being heard. That morning, I woke up and realized I no longer had to live in shadow. I could breathe. We packed a small bag, colorful Band-Aids, 2 stuffed animals, Ava's favorite snack bars, and headed to Aunt Marcy's. She opened the door, weary smile, eyes shiny. I stepped inside like a guest. Home felt like a gift. Over coffee, Aunt Marcy handed me a mug. No need to speak. Shared relief soaked into our silence.
Outside, kids played in leaves. I watched them. Last year, I never would have let Ava near stairs without hand-holding. But this year, she climbed up, a little wobble, then laughed. I laughed too. Not because I was unafraid, because I was present. We spent the weekend at a park. Blankets sprawled. Hot chocolate cool by sunset. Friends joined, bringing casseroles and fresh apples. Some of them shared stories. Children's scraped knees, family misunderstandings, battles they never thought they'd fight. And I realized this wasn't a rare story. It was real life. Each conversation made space a little softer, a little more real. The next week, I unpacked boxes in the small home we moved into last winter. No penthouse view, no formal expectations, just walls we chose paint for, furniture we picked together. Every nail, every mug was ours. In the corner was a scrapbook we started. For the first time in years. Photos of Ava's Draw 4 smiles, park days, parties with chosen people, notes that said, "Today I felt brave." I thumbed through it, realizing how far we'd come. School started again. I walked her to class on day 1. She held my hand tight, but looked confident. No hesitation at the steps, just curiosity for what was next. A mom who didn't check the door dozens of times for messages. Later that day, I picked up mail. Letters from teachers, permission slips for field trips, flyers for parenting support groups. I paused on an envelope from Aunt Marcy. Inside was a photo. Us, baking last Thanksgiving. Flower-worn smiles, cupcake remains, hearts full. Underneath, her handwriting, "Found love the day you fought for hers." I didn't cry much anymore, just felt it. A tender warmth, like sunshine. One evening, I found a second note, postmarked from her parents' house, but anonymous. Inside, "Thank you for opening my eyes. I see things now." No name, no admissions, just a glimpse of realization. I folded it gently, placed it in the scrapbook. A few weeks later, during a coaching session at work, one of my team members paused and said, "You tell it like it is. It's brave." I smiled, because I remembered a fridge reflection months ago. Broken, beaten down. Now I stood different, stronger. Thanksgiving rolled around again. I didn't send a card. I didn't crave vindication. I cooked a simple dinner. Turkey breast, roasted veggies, mashed potatoes. And invited Aunt Marcy, close neighbors, the AmITEA who checked in. We called it gratitude dinner. We ate in mismatched chairs at a chip table, shared flaws and laughter. And when we raised glasses, no one asked for forgiveness or waved over ghosts. We just toasted to being present, to quiet courage. Late that night, as the moon rose, my daughter curled into bed next to me, her small arm across my chest. She whispered, "I love us." I kissed her forehead and said, "I love us too." I knew I had done right by her, not because I won a court case, but because I let her know this. That love wasn't about how long she stayed. It was about how fiercely I would fight to keep her safe. And so, this is where the story lives. In tiny victories, in shared meals with people who show up, in a daughter who learned that her voice mattered, in a mother who finally believed that home isn't a place you escape, it's a life you build on truth and peace. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What city and country? And have you or someone you know ever been through something like this?